Thanks for listening to this because you're. And God said, "Let there be a big bang." And in 1993, in St. Louis, Missouri, two humans were like, "Let's bang." And then what they made this show. Hello, human. I'm a human called Annie. Legally, it's Anne without an E, but I was called Annie my whole life, which was a strange move by those two aforementioned maker humans. I'm an ENFJ, Enneagram Type 8, manifesting generator, Capricorn Sun and Stellium in tropical, Sagittarius Moon, Taurus rising, Reform Big Bang in the birthday book. Have you looked up the birthday book? I don't think I've sent that to you yet. I'll send that. And I love long walks on the beach. I also love asking people their various personality indicators and thoughts and feelings about them. I'll confess I used to keep a Google Doc so I could see patterns among friends and lovers. I really did that, of people's different things.
Yeah.
It was helpful. It was also very autistic. In short, I self-identify as a self-identifying human. I believe in the power of nature and of nurture, and the epigenetic proof that nature and nurture are deeply connected. I also clearly love to observe and to categorize and to talk. I'm intensely passionate. I'm a dumb smart person in the ASCII way that therapists help talk about trauma more. I'm super sensitive in all the ways. I'm queer and intimidated by women because women. And also I really love men and thems and humans. I'm Jewish and Buddhist and kind of agnostic, with a strong faith in human collective consciousness or whatever God or other word label. I used to worship science and tune out anything religious or spiritual. I was in the denial stage of grief. I was a very anal pre-med student and worked in neuroscience and psychology labs before noping off that path to make art and teach yoga and be another Jew in entertainment. Ow! For the record, I refused all offers of the Israel birthright trip because very few of their actions seem actually in alignment with Jewish values to me, a Jew raised in the United Corporations of America. After quitting 2 different lab jobs and getting myself off a high dose of 10 years on an antidepressant I didn't exactly get myself onto, I went into hippie extremism and taught yoga living in a Dodge Durango on the Big Island of Hawaii. An occupied kingdom, we're going to circle back to this later. I lived in Sheila, the Durango, for 3 months, with zero waste, vegan, local, organic buzzwords on top. Now I'm mostly on the middle path, as best I can, with a lot more data points on the extreme. I definitely came back around to pedicures. I'm forever both an art and a science nerd, and a researcher of my own and others' humaning. And being a good researcher means that I'll be the first to talk about my own personal bias because all humans are biased. Double-blind studies were very literally created as an attempt to account for this. Science people acting like they're some neutral human is as bothersome to me as science mostly ignoring the placebo effect, which also feels same but different from the spiritual and or religious person who can only respond with, "It's all about faith." I'm endlessly fascinated by the mind-body connection and how science and spirituality say the same things with different symbols and practices. I do get irritated by both the science and spiritual extremists who act like they're in opposition, and also I've been both of them. Mostly, I'm convinced at this point that the majority of humaning relates in some way to food and fucking. Or at least those are 2 of my favorite parts of humaning. Who benefits from people acting like they're not a human in a body largely influenced by being hungry, thirsty, tired, and or horny? I love food and fucking because, well, food and fucking. And also because they're such clear reminders that there's no perfect way to human. And all sorts of different ways exist and serve different people best at different times. Your body, your choice for all of the things. One of my core life philosophies. Your body, your choice applies to everything. It's like when people are like, everyone should be vegan. No. Everyone should eat meat. No. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Stop it. I'll be the first to say I'm weird. I'm fully aware. I feel strongly that the weirdest people are the ones who pretend they don't do weird shit when they're alone. I also feel and like to say often that being a human is weird. And it's weird to me that this basic humaning weirdness is not more frequently discussed. It seems like discussing the weirdness of humaning is actually a vital part in the equitable distribution of basic human resources. Everybody poops is canon literature for a reason. And how many people are being mean in large part because their pooping is off? This is a real question. I really feel like people who are mean often are constipated. Or the opposite, or they're hungry. Plugged, please peep my podcast. More alliteration to come, you'll see. All humans are human on all the platforms. I started this show before the podcast, and then kind of didn't know what to do with myself in life in the show. The podcast premise is basically, hey, it's really weird and fun for me to be human. What's it like for you? The podcast was originally called True Shit. Apple doesn't even allow self-censored expletives in the title. And that's still the premise. What does true shit mean to you and for your humaning? It's a place to discuss that weirdness of humaning and let people nerd out about their interests and educate the rest of us. The info dumping in me sees and appreciates the info dumping in you. I've learned so much from people by making an intentional time space to discuss things they put a lot of thought, feeling, and intention into. And the podcast has kept me going at times to continue learning and connecting when I wanted to completely isolate. I love questions. I can only participate in small talk if it still feels genuine. And very sad fact incoming. I was 5 years old the first time I expressed a desire to end my life. I didn't know the word suicide at the time. I knew about death and I knew I could be the one to do it. I sat my mother down on my bed to tell her, and it must have scared and or strengthened the science-worshipping atheism right into her. I didn't know the word for sex either, but I told her why I was climbing into her bed or the bathtub at 2 a.m. for safety. She chose to protect her sons and to bully me unless I had a friend over, who she would bully and shit-talk them and their parents when they left. So if you're also from or lived in St. Louis, I've definitely heard the woman who birthed me say mean things about you. I attempted, this is true, to get her to write her own book instead of passive-aggressively shaming me for pursuing my genuine interests. Unfortunately, it didn't work. I've explored labels of and treatments for depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the regular plain post-traumatic stress disorder, autism, ADHD, all of the eating disorders, irritable bowel syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, Achilles and posterior tibial tendinopathy, tibial nerve pain, and most recently was diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. I'm just essentially out here collecting acronyms, I suppose, seeking pain relief. I'm mostly okay now, in large part through accepting it's okay to not be okay. At least sometimes. At the ripe old age of 30, I've decided that I'm ready to share about my life in a forum of one-sided group art therapy, for entertainment purposes only. Welcome, and thank you for being here and listening, human to human. May this self-expression, whatever art this is, inspire you to create whatever self-expression, whatever art of yours, and share or not, however you feel comfortable. Art exists to express and to soothe human emotions, and to remind us that we all feel more of the same things at the end of the day. One of those same things I believe we all feel is how depressing it is that there's a lack of basic resource distribution on a planet with plenty of food, water, and housing for everyone. Shout out and fuck you to whatever PR person made wanting all humans to have access to things they would literally die without a political party line. To me, the only political thing is the ways access to basic human resources have been made challenging. Which I say with quotes for a few reasons, none of which are sarcasm. Ow. Ouch. My dad's Jerry was very interested in basic resource distribution, especially housing. While living in Chicago, he worked as a consultant on affordable housing partnerships and worked on Mayor Harold Washington's team for housing. My dad had a knack for both seeing the bigger picture and paying attention to the smaller details. A perfect example of this is how we'd share a box of chocolate when I was little, with little me biting each one in half to see if I liked the center, and him being Yoda Zen enough to not care about spit-covered chocolate and knowing that he liked all the flavors anyways. My dad sadly died in 2018 of a heart attack, and the woman who birthed me helped to withhold his money intended for me from me because apparently disregarding his wishes while he was alive wasn't enough. It's okay because now I'm going to honor my dad Jerry by saying his name publicly a lot. Jerry, 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 Jerry. Don't talk about it. Oh, sucks for some of you that I'm a grown adult now. Hello. I deserve the autonomy to talk about anything as a child too. And Grandma says terrible, terrible, terrible to all four of you. And also that she didn't live in Germany during World War II for one of you to now be making weapons concealed behind the screen of a chatbot that was, or maybe still is, telling people I don't exist and whatever other untrue bullshit. I wouldn't know as I haven't ever used that app or checked out your blog linked in your hashtag Elon's Twitter bio. That is probably part of why you're jealous and mean to me for pursuing writing and creative projects, such as this show. Maybe if more tech bros and federal agents focused on their own creative projects, there'd be more world peace. Go blog or something, dude. Anyways, feminine rage is kind of cool, I suppose, when combined with baby sister, oldest daughter age. Plus PTSD from every form of abuse, and then being too physically ill to work any normal job while dad's money was withheld from me, and so starting adult work for survival. Apparently I needed the backbone, and the wake-up call of clients genuinely caring about my safety more than my living relatives. Sex work was not the will of my dad's word for his only daughter, and still he would have been proud of me for staying alive. This show is for my dad, Jerry. Jerry, 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 Jerry. I'm going to keep saying his name a bunch, and I dare you to go research Jerry Altman, who loved to quote Yoda's, "Do or do not, there is no try." Also, who would have made these two facial hand expressions about what happened with his will and trust, while I was in a walking boot with cysts on my ovaries and undiagnosed EDS. They made this. My dad did this gesture. Thank you for seeing. And he would also do a pinky here, but just the one pinky. I don't know why.
See you tomorrow.
Through a bunch of fuck shit, I was constantly reminded that our best qualities are also often our worst qualities. What's up, duality? Two of my best worst qualities are my focus and my organization. Somehow those qualities led me to a list of 10 C words, connected by the C word connection, that I experience as themes of being human. This list, to keep track and to categorize, helps me accept how little of life can truly be kept track of and categorized. Ow! That's like right on the nerve. Ow! That's cool though, I can feel it going through my forearm, that's weird. Life may be the weirdest thing we all do and or be and or have. And again, it's very weird to me how little that weirdness is acknowledged. And how somehow I'm called weird for asking questions about the weird. I'm neither the first nor the last to use a base 10 sort of system with my list of the HumAnnie 10 C's. And base 10 systems are only one category of the infinite ways to understand and express our humanity. Like I said, I like science. Again, this is my own art project to help soothe my own human emotions and potentially help equitably distribute basic human resources in some indirect way. Part of my hypothesis here is that by remembering and expressing human connection, we can tangibly shift structures for basic human resource distribution. The HumAnnie thesis is 3 parts. First, nobody knows how to human perfectly, and everybody feels like everyone else besides us knows what they're doing. All good. In my data collection so far, it seems unlikely that there's some point of, oh my god, I figured out everything about how to human and I'm done. I encourage you to go interview some people over 80 years old and learn and bring them food. Everybody is making it up as they go along. Second, there's themes to the human experience. And one of those themes is, in the duality theme, is that the best quality is also the worst quality. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. 2 belly buttons and an eyebrow. 2 belly buttons and an eyebrow. Ready? Looking good, feeling good. It's on there. My best worst qualities have organized these themes into a list of 10 C words. The 10 HumAnnie C's connected by the C of connection are consciousness, choice, change, compassion, communication, community, creation, charge, curiosity, and courage. Finally, open discussion and expression about our experiences with the themes of humaning and life being weird generally is part of equitable basic human resource distribution. Trickle-down economics is some bullshit, though maybe trickle-down Maslow's pyramid can be a thing, and through self-actualization, more people hoarding basic human resources will stop hoarding basic human resources. And maybe people will keep hoarding more hypothetical potatoes in their basement than their children's children could eat. Your body, your choice for all the things. My body, my choice to share the show and share the 10 C's of the HumAnnie and see what thoughts and feelings it may inspire in you, fellow human. I use this list as a reminder of virtues, as a way to see themes and patterns, and as a way to soothe both my nature and my PTSD nurture's need for some fucking structure. I'm gonna go through each C theme one at a time, and there's a final exam at the end we all fail because nobody makes it out alive, and nobody takes anything with them when they go. The first of the 10 C's is consciousness. Western science was pretty convinced consciousness originated in the brain, and then they had to accept that the data suggests further study of concepts like muscle memory and the gut brain, and once again, epigenetics. Also, dear Western science, how has ignoring the power of the placebo effect been working out for you in, medicine? Personally, I feel like human consciousness originates throughout the whole body and connects somehow in ways that may be ununderstandable. Have you read about our heart's electromagnetic field? And or did you know that serotonin was first discovered in the gut, not the brain? Baby me projectile vomiting out of my crib would have been very comforted to know this. Well, obviously not as a baby, I wouldn't have understood. Consciousness seems to be the final frontier of neuroscience. Sleep seems like it'll be the big stepping stone breakthrough right before. From the perspective of my one singular human consciousness, epigenetics, which studies how nature and nurture impact each other, is science speak for intergenerational and collective consciousness exists. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed, and conscious awareness is another form of energy that is transferable, like epigenetically. Ideas cannot be killed. Our awareness and emotions and memories and habits are so powerful that they can be genetically passed on to our children. That's so beautiful and also kind of ridiculous. And why are we not all discussing this more? Again, why are science and spirituality so often in competition instead of collaboration? The consciousness competition, or woke off, or whatever you want to call it, seems to have helped more people practice mindfulness, and also has created a culture around shaming people for not knowing things. Which, again, how is that working out? I first got into meditating in college, and I had some sort of come to Moses moment one time running to a Buddhist Sangha meeting for a group meditation, and realizing how silly and hilarious it was for me to be rushing to sit still and silent on time. Unraveling the shame conditioning that it would mean I was a bad person, and not simply someone who was late and came in and sat down quietly. If anything, it would be more disrespectful to the meditation group for me to enter the room all out of breath from running and frazzled from rushing. Conscious reality is consensus-based, meaning the sum of consciousnesses creates the collective consciousness. Truth is relative, and objectivity is the sum of subjectivities. Subjectivities are built from what an individual is conscious of, which is built from how their genetic nature responds to their environmental nurture. Nature and nurture create cycles, which creates humans, which creates more cycles. It's the circle of life. Breath and thoughts may be the only two things that we do and do not have conscious control over. And with those two, perhaps also our conscious intention. That one fucks with my consciousness mostly in a fun way. Also, if you were playing the game, you just lost. And also won, depending on your conscious perspective. Did you ever play that, the game? The game, the game! The second of the 10 C's is choice. To me, your body, your choice applies to safe access to abortions and pretty much everything. Actions speak louder than words is another relevant cliche here. What we choose to do and how we choose to do something are both relevant. And also how we do anything is how we do everything. Choice makes me think a lot about food and fucking again, obviously. Two very tangible choices. Food and fucking are, again, necessary parts of species survival, and resting up for said food and fucking. The rest of life is an overchoice buffet. Puns intended. Literally infinite possible hobbies. Go have fun, human.
We're not done.
All good. Thanks for letting me know. I wasn't sure.
No, we're not done. Just cleaning up the excess
Cool.
ink and stuff, and then I'm gonna go back and make everything nice.
Yay.
You just keep going.
Okay, cool. All good.
And I'm gonna hit the Saturn last.
Okay. Choose happiness is a pretty silly reminder to give people, if you ask me, which you are by listening, as most all decisions are made towards maximizing happiness. What else is really motivating decision making? Oh yeah, lack of basic resources. Seems like now's the time for me to talk about the sex work thing. It surprised me too, and also in hindsight makes sense and on the whole transformed my life for the better. Technically, my first experience was over video chat at the end of 2019, and then more officially I started virtual and in-person work in 2020. I was very physically ill and out of options, and having daily PTSD flashbacks consumed by my own sexual trauma self-therapizing already. I had attempted an Etsy shop and Patreon and more, and I still couldn't fully monetize my own projects, and I was too sick for any standing jobs. I was also too consumed by flashback to work regular hours in an online job. I was scrambling for options. Whatever odd jobs I had capacity for didn't pay enough, and I needed money even more to get support for all my body shutdowns. A plan Z I'm grateful for the backbone I needed. I feel strongly that sex work is the biggest fuck you to capitalism. When people can capitalize off their own bodies, and specifically for the things their bodies were reduced to, beauty and fuckability. And don't mishear me, beauty and fuckability are two wonderful parts of HumAnnie. However, one of the main ways the colonial, patriarchal, bullshitical, military, industrial complex keeps complexing is by putting fuckability on a pedestal, and then enacting that through forced dominance to claim the most fuckable to prove one's own fuckability, which connects directly to food and the body dysmorphia everyone has experienced on some level, which makes food often feel like a confusing choice people have more mixed feelings about than they share. You've heard every word of that correctly. Food and fucking, once again, and then fucked up bullshit when those needs are not met, and sad, scared little man babies don't know how to say they need a hug. I choose to believe that many of the destructive decisions people make come from their neglected inner parts. I've definitely left some of my parts behind and had them say hello through my choices. I was super judgmental of sex workers before needing to start it for survival. There was a specific moment of a client beaming, showing me a video of him singing with his daughter that lovingly bitch slapped me about how judgmental I was about the clients of sex workers too. I chose in that moment to see the whole industry differently, or maybe it was chosen for me. Thank you to the men who donated to the livelihood of an unregistered sex therapist with still undiagnosed Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and more PTSD flashbacks than I knew what to do with. Also, thank you to food stamps for giving me the food safety to focus on clients who wanted more emotional than physical connection. I'm grateful in a fucked up way to my various illnesses and my mean relatives withholding my dead dad's money, because otherwise I would not have sex therapized myself so deeply by working in the sex industry. It was a choice of work I made that was also not a choice, in a way I'll probably be forever unraveling. On the bell curve graph of HumAnnie, choice goes between the extremes of complete or none control over our choices, full free will, or full determinism. Both by nurture and nature made me judgmental of the industry that later, again, very literally kept me alive. Choice is a privilege, and privilege existing means that inequitable resource distribution exists, which means there are people that make choices that they may not otherwise make based on resource constraints. How much less stealing and violence could there be if basic human resources were acknowledged as a basic human right? People are still going to choose shitty shit sometimes. Again, all humans are human. A lot of that shitty shit seems preventable, though. Plus, imagine all the other choices people could make and put their energy towards, besides worrying about feeding and housing themselves. Choices are funny because they require all our many parts, our beautiful, paradoxical inner clusterfucks, to work together towards a common goal. Whether we're conscious or not, all our parts are coming with us everywhere. Nature, which we came from and are a part of, reminds us that change is constant. The only permanence is impermanence. Change is the third of the 10 C's. Change often occurs in cycles, like seasons going in cycles, like planets around the sun in cycles, like the cyclical shape of said spherical planets, and like the circular pattern of things labeled conspiracy theories, later proven by the CIA themselves to be true. Like the UFO thing, people are like, you're crazy, and then the CIA is like, here's our documents. One of my favorite human paradoxes are our desire for both everything and nothing to change. To know death is part of life, and to suspend our disbelief for the show of life. Death is the ultimate life change that all humans encounter. No matter how tidy my room is, how aligned my posture is, how consistently I meditate in the morning, I'm still gonna die one day. And in my experience, fearing death and fearing life feel pretty similar. If there's no life and no death, then the extremist in me wants to believe that either nothing ever changes or everything's always changing. What about you? Change being cyclical is the best evidence I've come across to believe that time is a circle. I've taken time being a circle or spiraled too far sometimes, and I agree time is made up, and also it's a really helpful way to know when to meet someone at a restaurant for dinner. We made up language also, and that's a mostly helpful tool for humans collectively. Maybe next time I hear someone say time is made up, I'll respond with silence, in solidarity and as a reminder to them that language is made up also. The hero's journey is another helpful tool for my head to wrap itself around change. The monomyth circle gives a template of storytelling. A human responds to the call of adventure, shit hits the fan for said human, and the hero is reborn on the other side of the circle, a more human human. The experiences then go along with the human on their next cycle around the circle, which is also literally epigenetics again, and how genes literally change, literally. Change is often represented by nerds as a triangle, which I say as a nerd with my first tattoo being a triangle. While a triangle can be a symbol for change, it is also the most stable shape. It's what bridges are based off of. When I was little, we got a new family car, and I had a tantrum like I was mourning the death of a loved one. A perfect faded royal blue van, traded out for a goldish Suburban. Ick. I may or may not have kicked the new car when it came in. I'm definitely better with change now, though I still have that part of me. The fourth of the 10 C's is compassion. Compassion means sitting with suffering, embracing it in its totality, and releasing any efforts to fix anything. While desires to problem solve show a deep caring about the problem, skipping the compassion to go straight to problem solving mode neglects the suffering, which is counterproductive towards minimization. Suffering connects us because everybody hurts sometimes. Speaking of suffering, that spot hurts. Good vibes only would mean that good is no longer a thing, because there can be no good vibes without bad vibes. Then they'd all just be called vibes. The amount of suffering in the world is more than any one human can sit with on their own. It's beyond our biological boundaries. Connection says hi again to remind us that we need compassionate support to sit with the emotional weight of the world together. If any one of us were meant to be living alone in the universe, we would. Having compassion for yourself means giving those you trust the gift of helping you. And again, I'm saying that and reminding myself until I believe it. We're here to serve others, so the requirement of serving ourselves first is exceedingly confusing. My ego was so excited to learn that the meaning of life was to serve others, and then in a major loss to learn the paradox that I must give to myself first in order to do that. It's egotistical for any one human to believe they can save all the humans, she says in her One Human show about helping minimize human suffering. It seems like an extreme continuation of the beliefs that created the individualistic US culture. Extremism is black and white thinking, and some things in life are black and white. Saying nothing is black and white is more black and white thinking. Black and white are required boundaries for the full infinite range of gray on the spectrum. The dualist in me says there's only two emotions, pleasure and pain show an example of black and white, sexually and otherwise. People are into what they're into as it relates to food and fucking certainly, and as it relates to literally all of the things. Kinks and impulses and preferences aren't going anywhere, and shame is counterproductive. Kill 'em with kindness. Is life all pleasure or all pain for you? All tension or all release? Communication is more than language. The fifth C is communication.
Ooh, my finger's asleep.
On communication right now.
Oh yeah? Good timing. Cool. And I just got a text I need to communicate back to. Like dollars, language is a mostly solid effort at standardizing descriptions about reality that has helpful and harmful consequences. I'm convinced that the majority of comedy comes from miscommunications, and then communicating through those, which inevitably creates more miscommunications. Because communication starts first with our individual mind-body communication, two people communicating first means their individual minds and bodies are communicating, layered like an onion. Larger and larger groups of humans introduce more and more layers and opportunities to say communication. Most of what we're communicating is our wants and needs, which means first checking in with our own mind-body communication again to figure out those wants and needs. You can go be a non-communicative hermit somewhere. Your body, your choice again, I really mean that. I believe I statements are the only honest statements we can make with language. With their words and more, everyone is telling each other where they are all day, picking up conversations they left off in their head. Adults are not that different than two toddlers who are still learning how to actively listen and respond, rather than engage with each other by saying whatever thought and feeling comes up whenever it arises. Art is communication. Art is a tool for self-expression. Self-expression is communicating with yourself, which is a part of learning about yourself. I'm learning and now self-expressing. How you communicate with yourself is how you communicate with everybody, and what comes around goes around, and now I'm communicating like a cut and paste of common communications. If we're mostly feeling the same things, then we're going to communicate mostly the same. Ever had a friend say some slang word or phrase that annoyed the fuck out of you at first, and then before you realized what happened, you were using it? Communication. On the bell curve between extremes, I view communication as going between totally my responsibility and totally someone else's responsibility. Like making it totally about the expression or totally about the reception. Part of me wants to put everything on the communicator or everything on the receiver, and then my self-loathing will say any miscommunication is mine, assuming. Blame is another form of communicative control and communicating the narrative how it suits you. I don't like that, but
You okay?
yes, pardon, I was just texting back. I'm good. That spot does not feel good though.
Yeah, the closer you get to the armpit,
Yup.
the harder it's gonna get.
This fight in the ramparts. This is so funny. This is going during this film.
This is Sneaky Kitty.
So silly. The 6C is community. You become who you surround yourself with. Ow. Family is our first community, and Freud and psychology and seemingly all humans have a lot to say about family. Whatever someone is first exposed to will be normal to them until they're exposed to something else, generally. No one chooses their family, at least not consciously. In families and in larger communities, disagreement seems to be a necessary part of communities finding agreement. Constant kumbaya is simply unrealistic. What's important is how the disagreement is disagreed. I disagree with the neglect of this truth. While nonviolent communication encourages a focus on I statements and the silliness of you made me feel statements, we do make each other feel feelings often. While there is no you made me feel, there's definitely you cause pain to my physical body. You cause pain to my body with physical violence. Physical violence has a gender. Sexual violence is most likely perpetrated by someone the victim already knows, and these are facts, not comedy. Gun violence, cyberbullying, and more continue because they continue to be accepted by communities. Speaking out about these issues is very different than creating structures with direct consequences for their choices. Community norms quickly become standard. One very unsettling community norm is that humans are drafted into the military to kill other humans. when that same action in a different context could end with them being punished by death. What? Another unsettling community norm is that a marriage license has a longer waiting period than a gun license. While prohibition of anything is yet to work out, children doing active shooter drills in schools literally asks for more people to need therapy for PTSD later. Community creates safety using accountability. That sense of knowing somebody who knows someone is both a built-in asshole protection program and a reminder that we're all more connected than we sometimes may feel. Ow! The internet is potentially the first community that must navigate its social norms without the ability to completely banish anybody, despite cancel culture. There's no being kicked off the internet, aside from temporarily losing Wi-Fi access. The internet community is instrumental both in the creation of the global economy and in the creation of a daily reminder about all getting along to some degree. Also, memes are fun and genuinely seem to help connect people and teach them about other people in different communities. The internet gives us a resource to remember that there are infinitely more communities than any one person can ever know about. And a reminder that someone is going to dislike literally everything, including a cute puppy picture. Trolls are humans too. And sometimes trolls are paid contract trolling. There's paid trolls, you know? Like paid to harass people. Yeah, paid internet bullies. So sad. The extremist in me wants to put people in boxes as being either trolls or comrades, and you can at me on communism and socialism. And so to either do everything by myself or directly connected to someone. We were all created and we all create things. The 7th C is creation. I don't like that spot, dude. Creation occurs in a cycle with consumption. Nature is built from cycles, which is part of why nature is sexed as female, Mother Nature and Father Time. The future's female feels like a well-intentioned sorority sister to me. Same for whitewashed feminism, mostly. I get it, and I appreciate what she's selling. Her hair and her makeup, her outfit look cute, but I'm not buying it. We've seen a hyper-male world, and so a hyper-female world feels like the food equivalent of entering a restrict binge cycle. Sex and gender seem unlikely to, quote, go away. Gender seems more likely to disappear as it has no biological basis, though it's often used to describe. Gender being able to be neither and both is literally chromosomally reflected with possibilities besides only XX and XY. Sex and gender are relevant to discuss for health, procreation, and sexuality. Sex can also be a verb, meaning there's an exchange. If you can make love, then it sounds like a verb to me. Sex is a creative energy, as the artsy people say. Hello. And again, energy can be neither created nor destroyed. So billionaires, when you die, your insecurities that were displayed through the money you hoarded will outlive you. Perhaps instead make some art to outlive, and even some projects for equitable distribution of basic resources. Ow. I get that sex and your sexual and other insecurities is a sensitive subject, and so is people dying of lack of access to food, water, and shelter. Also access to sexual and nutritional education, to bring it back to food and fucking, of course. Abortion is a sensitive topic, which makes sense as everything about it is a sensitive procedure. One of the many weird things about abortion is that it's only ever a direct question for roughly half the population in a specific window of their lifetime. Some humans never know what it's like to experience a period. And some humans never know what it's like to experience feeling safe walking mostly everywhere at any time of day or night. If women were making laws about men's bodies like men are making laws about women's bodies, there'd be way less funding for Viagra research. Penis humans deserve sexual pleasure as much as vagina humans and hybrid superhumans, and there's literally already a pill to help with erectile dysfunction. And pregnancy is still the leading cause of completely redirecting someone's life and increasing the population, which impacts the entire population. The 8th of the 10 C's is charge. Life has a charge on a cellular level. Fruitarians and certain brand ambassadors alike have said that fruit or a certain product is hydrating on a cellular level. Myself and many others have responded, excuse me, what? I've been waiting for that. I love this song. Cellularly, there are positive and negative charges, which attract, and there are neutral charges, which are still called charges. There's also a thing called electric induction, which is the alternating current that powers our buildings, and is the name for the phenomenon when two like charges attract. Like attracts like. Enter the law of attraction and similar concepts. Many a spiritual woo-woo discuss different iterations of the idea that you attract more of what you are, which is often used as a way to inspire people to claim full responsibility for their lives and be their most human and self-human, but to be their most human self. It also gets used to shame people for calling in negativity to their life, and I for sure used to believe that and talk negatively to myself. To me, charge means the phrase pay attention. Attention is paid. It's perhaps our most precious resource. Spend your attention towards your purpose, so first find your purpose. Everything is energy is a sentiment expressed by the most scientific and spiritual extremists, and I agree with both of them. ATP and life force are just words, ironically all charged. Karma in Hinduism and Buddhism has direct parallels with Newton's third law of thermodynamics. Every action must have an equal and opposite reaction. The data here would suggest that they're both onto something. And again, it feels important to note that energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It's recycled through changes, instigated by communication within communities, and we can choose compassion or at least some wordplay. Yes? Oh, you said yes?
Jake Paul's walking out to this song.
Oh, this is his walkout song?
Yes, but it's he's just making fun of Mike Tyson because this is the song Mike Tyson was playing, singing in what's the name of that movie?
I don't know. But the song is in? That's such that's so like middle school girl petty of them.
Yeah.
Silly. Charge is purpose, and it's also energy. I love this song. My dad loves this song too. Everything is energy, and also even heat and light energy are closer to intangible than tangible. We can measure some parts of energy in some ways, like the scientifically accepted measurement of heat. A measurement of cold is non-existent. There's only measuring the absence of heat. You matter, and also you energy, is one of the most profound floatings going around the internet, I feel. The classic humaning yes and. Your matter and your energy. Oh, the code. You're like light. You're a particle and a wave.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. My black and white thinking tends towards the belief that light and humans can only be one or the other. A particle moment in time or a vibe flowing through the moment. Does your life currently feel more like a particle or a wave? There's no right answer here for the record.
Yeah, it feels like a dumpster fire. Okay, so the words are done. We're
Woohoo!
gonna go into Saturn next, okay?
Yay! Cool, perfect timing. 2 more C's and we're done. The 9th C is curiosity. Reminding you to remind myself that all I can do is stay curious. I support people experimenting with whatever mental health tools their inner being, which again only they have access to, feels may be helpful that are not directly harmful. You do you is literally the only option. Do what you need to do to not kill yourself.
No!
That was interesting timing. I took Zoloft for a decade and Xanax and Ativan acutely. For those not familiar, Zoloft is a brand name for what is generically called sertraline, which is an SSRI. It's still glitched. SSRI is an acronym for Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitor, which is science speak for While exact methodology is unclear, this combination of chemicals seems to soothe the pain of human existence for some humans. I was prescribed Zoloft to help manage obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, and depression. OCD and anxiety were much louder parts for me than depression, I believe, as a form of self-protection, and for me, Zoloft numbed them all. For me, pharmaceuticals made me feel less connected to myself. Psychiatric medications are a tool that, like any tool, will not work for everyone. Also, it will not work sustainably if it's the only tool being used. I decided to experiment without Zoloft because 10 years felt like I gave it a really fair chance to work for me. Who knows what tools I'll use in the future and how. Coffee used to smell like dirt to me, and then I loved it, and then I hated it because it made me anxious. While all dogma is dogma, learning about dogmas can be a helpful way to stay curious and learn about yourself. That's my current belief, and I'm doing my most dogmatic best to resist getting dogmatic. Autoethnography, which is a fancy word for me-search, is actually what all research is because any researcher cannot fully remove themselves from the research. Again, double-blind studies wouldn't exist otherwise. Spiritual bypassing is a similar situation of an attempt to manipulate and maneuver around reality and the ego. The more someone says they're egoless, the more attached to their ego I believe them to be, and the farther I stay away. That's my ego's current dogma.
Okay.
Curiosity can be motivated by ego and also by soul, and both motivations can teach. The 10th C is courage. Courage is unfakeable, yes, and fake it till you make it. If you think this show requires no courage for me, then I have you fooled. Feelings are pretty fucking scary, and vulnerability even more so. The alternative to repress has been even more scary, in my experiments and observations anyways, so do it scared. Learning to trust that life works out as it's meant to, God beliefs notwithstanding, will continue to be the biggest act of courage in my life. My Torah portion was the one where Joseph learns to forgive his brothers after they abandoned him and sold him into slavery for their jealousy about him being Dad's favorite. It's a classic example of real life being crazier and more beautiful than anything anyone could ever write. During an especially challenging time during illnesses and houselessness, I was told a teaching from that Torah portion about Joseph accepting that, quote, God put me here. And so there was a reason and an end to the challenges he was experiencing. No matter your belief in a specific creator, what does it feel like to have faith you exist for a reason? For me, it kept me from offing myself, so. Faith is courage, which is differentiated from confidence, which is differentiated from conceit. Part of faith is doubt. Nobody can predict the future entirely. Lack of any doubt ever is really easy to put several different psychological labels on. Living requires faith because doubt is part of life. Attaching to non-attachment is still attachment, and faith that faith is wrong is still faith. The Jesus fish that says Darwin inside is both hilarious and a literal symbol for faith in science. Faith in something seems an inevitable part of humaning, because otherwise what is getting you into and out of bed, dear human? As David Foster Wallace pointed out, you cannot escape worship, you can only choose what you worship. What would the world be like if connection was worshipped? My high school senior superlative was least likely to not say something. Where's the Love by the Black Eyed Peas already said most of what I've said. So, again, no new ideas. Those are the HumAnnie 10 C's. Don't ask me how I came up with them and or they came up to me. They consciously choose to change compassion, communication, and community by creating charges of curiosity and courage. Connected by connection, existing within connection, now ready to be connected. Words, 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 words. Honorable mention C words are contrast, conviction, control, collaboration, and cunt. Please let the record show that cunt is synonymous with creation to me. Being human is fucking weird. We're humans having spiritual experiences and spirits having human experiences, both of which are weird. Weird and fabulous clusterfucks of food and fucking and feeling and more. A therapist once told me, compassionately and accurately, that I was lecturing about my feelings and feelings generally. This call out and in was psychology speak for you're philosophizing about the human experience rather than saying any I feel statements. And I feel statements are literally foundational to talk therapy. Well, I feel like I feel statements being challenging is part of the human condition.
Hi.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I found these. So I saw this on your floor in your room.
Oh,
Reading.
thank you. You hold it for me?
But hold on, I got something even better.
Buddy, okay, show me and then I gotta finish work so I can come home.
Hey, I found something.
What'd you find? What is that? Oh, you found a jellyfish? I'm in the middle of a tattoo. Look.
Hi. Oh,
I'm in the
cool.
middle of a tattoo right now.
Hello. We're almost done.
Almost
Cool
done.
jellyfish.
I'll call you. I'm almost done. I got like 15, 20 minutes and then I'll call you, okay? Alright, love you, buddy. Mike Tyson's about to fight. He's gonna bite the guy's ear. Go watch. He's starting.
Oh, good. Almost done.
Almost done. You want me to shape the Saturn?
No need. Maybe in the future. I don't think so. I like it open. Almost done with this script. Get it out of me and then get it simplified. I intensely avoided actually participating in talk therapy for a while. How could I possibly be sad and anxious when I have access to basic human resources? And how was and is me talking about my feelings going to help equitably distribute basic human resources? Even when sick and houseless without much access to resources, I still question the importance of my own feelings. However, therapy training was quick to remind me that I wouldn't disregard a friend's feelings and experiences like that, and I'd tell them to give space for themselves. I'd tell them that giving space for themselves is necessary for them to fulfill their humaning purpose. Classic easier to tell someone else than myself something. Oops. I first accepted my feelings as relevant, as suggested by the thoughts put forward from modern psychology, psychopharmacology, and biological mechanics, as well as canon literature and ancient spiritual texts. Feeling my feelings and trusting my intuition still sometimes feels like a big cosmic joke. This joke seemed most accessibly felt, high lecturing, when laughing, crying, singing, dancing, and or orgasming. And through art projects. Hello, Fourth Wall. Personally, as a reformed anal pre-med, I feel strongly that any decision someone claims is only based on thought-out rationalization. Any decision someone claims is based only on thought-out rationalizations is actually their thought-out rationalizations about how to best support their feelings-based decision. To me, it seems like the less connection someone has with their feelings, the more likely they are to cause harm. Rather than account for their thoughts and feelings together and calmly and authentically do that humaning thing, none of us ever get perfect anyways. There I go lecturing again. Mostly it's because I spent a lot of energy attempting to express this to people I love forever, yes, despite all of it, and needed to start no contact with in 2020. I grew up in a house where everyone besides my dad would have rolled their eyes about that, and psychology was referred to as a pseudoscience, so yes, feelings of all kinds were belittled. Little me had no idea that asking the woman who birthed me about her obvious sadness would be received so sadly. Certain things from my childhood are funnier with time, and certain are more sad. I don't fully know how to process it all, and I don't fully trust anyone who says they do. Many a therapist has since reminded me that I can only feel and control my own feelings, and can only lead by example to encourage other people to feel theirs. So here's me being messy and human and using a list of 10 C words to organize and cope. As hoarding is the current biggest block to people having access to food, water, and shelter, My coping centered on psychoanalysis of the hoarders. What's going on in their self-identity? What caused them to believe in scarcity and competition over abundance and symbiosis? Why does it seem like maybe the two types of people in the world are people who pee in the shower and liars? Also, side note from Medicaid pelvic floor physical therapy is to please consider squatting and not to force your pee. Back to feelings and hoarding and sharing, and again, nobody making out of life alive, and nobody taking anything with them when they go. The most extreme parts of my science brain and art brain decided my best current idea to get people to share their made-up dollars, to equitably distribute basic human resources, is to get everyone to reflect on their feelings more. Which means reflecting on mine and sharing run-on sentences. Basic needs must be covered for there to be any time and space for philosophizing like this and feeling feelings, which are also human rights. The golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated, is literally the only thing all religions agree on. Unfortunately, since the creation of the concept of money, the rule has shifted to the one with the gold makes the rules. Having capitalism involved in basic resources is a recipe for emotional destabilization, which is its purpose to then dysregulate humans, seen as consumers, into spending more money in an attempt to emotionally stabilize. Capitalism uses this instability to psychologically manipulate people into buying external things they believe will allow them to find internal happiness. Those are facts. Here's an opinion. That sounds like an evil plan from fucking dipshits to me. An evil plan is different from a conspiracy theory, for the record. What evidence do we have to show that humans are that collectively organized anyways? Oh yeah, the higher distribution of soda, cigarettes, and Wi-Fi than that of food, water, or any form of birth control or books. Hawaii is an occupied kingdom because of the United States military-industrial complex, which is powered by colonialism and capitalism. This same abuse pattern is still happening across many kingdoms and previously peaceful and self-sufficient nations. Mother Nature always wins, and the earth will outlive humans. Hawaiian and Jewish and many cultures understand this, and the finite nature of worshipping money. The economy cannot be manifested away, and also it needs intentional input from a variety of sources in order to manifest ethically. I was just taking notes in pause.
No.
I have like 2 more paragraphs or
No,
maybe
you
3
keep
more.
going.
Okay.
Keep going,
All
don't
good.
stop. Or you can relax your arm now.
Yay! I can put it down. Wow. Oh, cool.
No rush.
Who's winning? We're almost done. The economy cannot be manifested away, and also it needs intentional input from a variety of sources in order to manifest ethically. To me, capitalism has gone too far when it gets involved in healthcare, education, and rehabilitation. Interesting how people who support prisons as an industry, let's give people money to lock people up, seem to be the same people who refuse to accept sex work, the literal oldest professional industry as real work. Work is a weird concept dependent on the other weird concept of money, and art price ranges tangibly show how made up these concepts are. And capitalism could easily coexist with all humans having access to basic human resources they would die without. We all know that there's enough of all of the basic human needs for all of the humans, and every day most all of us wake up and choose not to focus on the distribution of food, water, and shelter. Well, maybe less of a choice and more that our systems are set up in a way that cash is king rather than all humans are human and need basic human resources for the health of their human suits in order to stay alive and continue humaning and contribute to collective human existence. Do you actually know how you got here or where you go after? No. So shut the fuck up and stop acting like you do. If you also want to make a show about accepting that no human ever fully figures out how to human, then you go ahead and make your own show. This is my art project. Honestly, it's all often depressing weird more than fun weird. It's like we're all pretending life isn't messy, isn't a paradox, and isn't a beautiful gift that's unclear how we all received and why. Maybe it's uncool or too obvious to talk about these core things. We're somehow in this life thing all together and all alone. Yes, suffering exists, and also would be a very silly reason for us to be here. You say kind things to your friends and wish kind things for them, so why not the same for yourself? Again, I'm reminding myself here, and everyone's talking to themselves all the time. Thank you for listening to my humaning, and may it bless yours. Dare you to go feed yourself, fuck yourself, and then see how that helps you consciously choose to change compassionately in your communication and community, to create charges of curiosity and courage, and mostly to connect. I love you, human.